Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Story number 1. He'll Learn, written by Chain Blue. Senior Observer Leland pulled himself up onto the human-sized chair in the frigate Hamill's sickbay, so that he could directly see the new subordinate's face. Novice Tynet's fine-faced fur was shiny and dark brown in a contrast to his own grey muzzle. From behind, Leland heard Dr. Glenn's strangely melodic human voice. "You're just in time, Senior Observer. I'm about to wake him. The nanites are done. Once I check his vitals, I will let you to talk." Leland thanks Dr. Glenn as she expertly went about her work. They were lucky to have a doctor on board a human ship who had also served rotations aboard a Meared ship. Dr. Glenn tapped a few times on her pad and Tennant's eyes fluttered open. "Once you feel up to it, you are free to leave, Novice Tennant. Just ping me or one of the nurses first," instructed the doctor as she walked towards the bed of a human marine further down the bay. Novice Tennant's eyes focused on his new supervisor and he started to speak, but Leland shushed him with a stern puff out of the fur and his tail, and then spoke. "Novice Tennant, I think you may have set a record for a new observer's first trip to the medbay while on a human vessel," observed the senior observer. He continued, "Hello, novice observers usually end up here for accidentally broken bones from sparring with humans, or muscle strains from terror-gravity areas of the ship. I have read the report, but I would like to hear your version. A good observer must be able to explain his, hers, or Cap experiences well enough for all Meared can learn from them," Leland concluded. Tennant paused and took a deep breath in and held it. He slowly let out and began. "I was invited into the human recreation lounge by my assigned human guide, Lieutenant Riley. He said that it would be a good place for me to observe humans doing non-work things and how they socialize." A boisterous group of young male Marines was gathered around a small table. They had a plate with several small red plants on it. They also had 2 large glasses of that bovine lactic fluid. His face fur rippled in disgust as he spoke about the beverage. "That they are so fond of." The young male seemed to be participating in some bonding game or rite of passage. I inquired about their behavior, and Lieutenant Riley told me that they had made wagers on that 2 of the Marines would eat the plant, and the first one to reach their beverage would lose. One of the human onlookers counted to 3, I think. Base 10 numbers are still odd to me. The contestants put the plants into their mouths and chewed. Their faces contorted, and their epidermis changed to a blood flush. Their body temperatures even increased, and they began to excrete their cooling fluid. Shortly, the bigger ones jumped up with a fearsome speed and expelled his stomach contents into a nearby waste receptacle. The observers howled with a mad laughter. They laughed so energetically that many seemed to be disabled by it. And one actually laid upon the deck and held his torso and convulsed. Lieutenant Riley chastised them for being rowdy and instructed them to clean up their mess. When they did so, I noticed that a small plant pot was left on the table. My ocular implant indicated that it was compatible with Meared biology and had no danger flags, so I decided that I would sample it in the name of greater learning. Lieutenant Riley barked out a startling warning to me, when it was too late. I had taken a nibble. It felt like I had eaten the core of a star. I have never experienced anything like it and hope to never do so again. My tongue felt melted, my sinuses flooded with mucus such that it was difficult to respire. My eye even burned. I felt weak and all 4 leg joints buckled. The next thing I recalled, I was waking up here with a mouthful of distasteful nano-healing gel. Dr. Glenn spoke to me for a bit about my pain level and advised me that I would be sedated for a bit longer while the gel worked. Though I couldn't speak, I did update the foodstuffs file with several warnings for, ghost chilies. End of story. Story number 2. Human Thrill Seeking, written by Space Paladin 15. Myrna, thought his friends had gone a bit overboard with the welcome home party. He walked through the door of his apartment to find decorations strung up everywhere, and enough food and drinks lying about to serve an army. This was the work of his best friend Kalquat. Undoubtedly, when Carl had said that they were all coming over as soon as he got back, he'd expected a simple meet-up, not a party with all the bells and whistles. Myrna had just returned from a 3-month trip to Terra, the newest planet to join the Federation. The humans had begun marketing their planet as a tourist destination as soon as they got full recognition by the galactic community, promising an adventure of a lifetime. Like most people, he had been skeptical of such claims. What could a backwater like Earth offer compared to the fiery coasts of Tijol or the cryovolcano resorts of Dane? His friends crowded around him the moment he stepped in the door, peppering him with questions. Everyone wanted to know what this trip had been like. He spoke of how eager the human civilians had been to welcome him, how luxurious the hotel accommodation had been, and how fussy Terrans were about their cuisine. Earth was more technologically sophisticated than he'd expected. Internet access was widely available, and most mundane jobs were automated.
That's, all great. But what is the adventure of a lifetime?
Kalquat quipped, earning a few snickers from the listeners. Myrna waved his eye stalks in annoyance. Laugh all you want, but I got way more than I bargained for. The humans have a very different definition of adventure than us. To them, it means something along the lines of actively trying to die.
What do you mean?
Balan, one of the younger members of the group, looked rather confused.
I don't see why any species would seek death.
Myrna smirked.
Well, actually, I don't know that they're seeking death. It's more that they're trying to get as close to death as possible without actually dying. Thrill-seeking, I believe, is their phrase for it. When humans talk about adventure, they don't just mean seeing interesting places. It's about doing stupid, dangerous things. They planned my schedule for me, and I'm amazed I got back here in one piece. They sent me a 4,000 meter up in a small plane on one of my first days there. I figured that we were just going to look at the terrain from a bird's eye view, but, no, the plane was to jump out of a perfectly good aircraft with nothing but a backpack.
What? That's suicide,
Roland gasped. I thought the same. But the human who was jumping with me insisted a piece of fabric would let me slow my momentum before I hit the ground. He claimed people had been doing this for a long time. I asked why anyone would do this. Tried to back out of it. He just laughed and said, "Come on, man, it'll be fun." I didn't want to seem like a coward, and I wasn't sure I had a choice anyways. I told myself that the Terrans probably wouldn't kill tourists. It would be bad for business. Unfortunately, I said this out loud and the human commented,
"We don't, well, most of the time, at least."
That was not reassuring. At any rate, I somehow made myself step out of the plane. The descent was so fast. As I was hurtling toward the ground, all I could think of was that this was the end. I'd never been so scared in my life. Meanwhile, the human was cheering and asked, "Isn't this awesome?" He told me to pull the cord on my pack, and I did. It actually worked. The fabric caught on the wind and slowed my fall. The landing was a bit rough, but I managed to stumble a little ways and stay on my feet. I was so relieved to be on solid ground again, but part of me wanted to do it again. The adrenaline coursing through my veins, my heart racing. I had never felt so alive. We did all sorts of wild things while I was there. After a while, you stop asking, "Is this safe?" And you start asking, "Is this fun?" Riding inflatable rafts down Violet Rapids, going straight down a mountain on nothing but a pair of sticks. It was an experience. Kalquat clapped his hands on Murmur's shoulder.
"Glad that you made it through. Sounds like that you were lucky to be here."
"I'm glad to be home." A smile stretched across Myrna's face, "but I'd like to go back to Terra sometime, and I think you guys should come too. Things on the planet are never, ever boring. You get your money's worth. Sure, humans are a bit crazy, but you know what? I like them.
End of story. The algorithm reckons you should be watching this video next, and I recommend that you should be always watching my video. So, click with energy! And yes, clicking that does help the channel. Thank you very much. I just want to give a quick thanks to the Tier 5 patrons and channel members. Alithia, Barky, Fudic Yol, Cam Maxwell, Casper Onholtz, White Band 420, Lord Astrokal, Arcadian, and Oakfield.